Welcome everyone. My name is Sean, and today we are revisiting the Super Mayor, which of course is the self-proclaimed title given to herself by one Tiffany A. Henyard, the mayor of Dolton in the state of Illinois, the most corrupt state for representatives in the entire union by the convictions, because now she has taken a step passed an ordinance in order to prevent her from losing her next election, and this is so blatantly, obviously campaign rigging the election in her favor, that we have to call it out because it's pretty much the most insane thing that you can possibly imagine. But before we get into that, I want to say thank you to everybody who signed up over at actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
And thank you to the podcast listeners, Spotify, Apple, and Google's podcasting platform. Oh, and by the way, everybody who didn't watch my video about an entire driveway being stolen, you're my enemy forever. That video was amazing, and you missed out. Now look, we've talked about the mayor of Dolton, Tiffany A. Henyard, a lot on recent videos, and that is because she is one of the most criminal people in office in this nation right now, and of course, she runs under the shield of being a strong, independent black woman, and her corruption is old-school corruption. She is charging the taxpayer for her lavish vacations to Las Vegas.
WGN Investigates obtained copies of that agency's credit card statements as well. They show township taxpayers also spent money on the Vegas trip on everything from steak dinners to hotels, and $3,741 just on Henyard's round-trip flight.
And when she is questioned about anything by her city councilors, by the accountant assigned to her township or assigned to her mayorship position, she will just resort to locking that person out using intimidation tactics, and those tactics go far beyond what she's doing against her fellow legislators. It actually impacts everyday small business owners, as we've documented on this channel. One of the incidents that I like to highlight frequently is that she ended up using the police force, which she bought off, by the way, by overpaying them to an insane degree for overtime that is not even humanly possible.
Well, when they're put on Henyard's detail, that 80 hours balloons to well over 100 hours, sometimes 200 hours. And in the case of Officer Terry Young last May, 303 hours worked over a 2-week period. That resulted in a single paycheck of more than $13,000.
That's 303 hours over a 2-week period, which, by the way, 2-week periods only contain total 336 hours.
And he's not alone. Others in town are sharing similar stories of alleged retaliation for not supporting this suburban mayor.
It's a regular occurrence. She uses the police force to intimidate residents.
The Dolton Park District's director said in her case, the mayor objected to a car show on park property and shut down the event.
And she did that in order to force this auto show to do the show on a property that she controls and that she could personally profit off of. However, that is just the tip of the iceberg. Go watch my other videos on Tiffany A. Henyard if you want a slice, a little taste of those particular scandals, because now she has stepped up her campaign effort, and what she did, the way she's trying to rig the election in her favor for her township position, is absurd in every possible way. And for you guys to understand this, you need to know that she is both the mayor of Dolton.
In addition to leading Dolton, she also serves as supervisor of Thornton Township.
You make almost $300,000 between your two elected positions.
I do not. I don't know where you got that number from.
We got it from her own village and township records.
And she is on the board of supervisors for Thornton Township. So what she's trying to do right now is protect her higher paid position, which of course is the Thornton Township position.
Anthony and Natalie, she makes a whopping $224,000 a year. Now Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard wants to cut the salary of her position by nearly $200,000.
So you might be shocked by the intro to this segment that Tiffany A. Henyard actually ended up supporting an ordinance that cut the salary of her Thornton Township position from $200,000+ all the way down to $25,000. It might sound like she finally is starting to care about the taxpayer. She's trying to be a good steward of their money and all of that. But the thing is, with Tiffany A. Henyard, it is always a scam. It is always a fraud. And this is no exception. The salary cut only will come into place if somebody else gets a hold of that position.
What a great move for taxpayers, right? Well, the pay cut only happens if someone else gets that job.
It's maybe the worst attempt to try to dissuade people from running that I've ever seen, and that's a long time.
Yeah, you heard that right. And by the way, you guys will recognize this guy right here. He is an expert on campaign finance fraud. He is an expert on corruption in the state of Illinois, which of course is the most corrupt state in the entire union by convictions. Thank you to Nate the lawyer for looking that up for us in your previous video. Link to that will be in the description. And he's just blown away by this in the same way that he was blown away and actually was laughing when he saw that Tiffany A. Henyard was using the taxpayer dollars in order to fund what were obviously campaign billboards all over Thornton Township.
Longtime municipal attorney Bert Odelson says he was stunned when he saw the latest move by controversial Thornton Township Supervisor Tiffany Henyard, who also doubles as the mayor of Dolton. 2 weeks ago, the Township Board passed an ordinance that allows Henyard to continue collecting her $224,000 a year salary. But if anyone other than Henyard gets the job, the ordinance resets that salary to $25,000 a year. Odelson says that's blatantly unconstitutional because you can't set an elected official's salary based on who's holding the seat.
You put a salary to attach to the job, to the officer. So it is a blatant attempt to dissuade other people from running and to allow the current supervisor to maintain the $250,000, whatever it is, obnoxious salary.
Now, this is so obvious, it should go without saying. The salary of the position should be the salary of the position. And by the way, $225,000, extraordinarily high, considering that she almost makes a grand total of $300K because she's double dipping. She holds two offices at the same time, covering an area, by the way, where the median income is $24,000. It definitely is too high. It's too expensive. It's too ridiculous, especially for somebody who's stealing the taxpayer dollar, who is not paving the roads, doing the regular ordinary city services, and spends all her time self-promoting herself and printing her name and her face on absolutely everything.
Take a drive to the south suburbs and you can't miss them. 4 giant billboards featuring Tiffany Henyard's name in large letters, along with her picture, smiling down on the thousands of cars going by on Interstate 57 and the Bishop Ford Expressway. What are they advertising? One says fresh produce, another senior services, and this one simply says we offer general assistance. There's a phone number, but you wouldn't know what it's for unless you can read in teeny tiny letters Thornton Township Supervisor as you're speeding by.
But obviously this is done in order to prevent somebody from challenging her for her election seat. If you know that when you take this office, you're going to make $25,000 a year, it actually disincentivizes you from doing so. And by the way, this is a strategy that makes a lot of sense for Tiffany A. Henyard. As we talked about on this channel repeatedly, because a lot of you had been writing in the comments that the people of Dolton, the people of Thornton Township actually voted for this person, the reality of the situation is that Tiffany A. Henyard already lost a recall election. The votes came in, and they came in against her. So the people in this particular area cannot stand this woman. They don't want her in office. The only reason she is still in office at this moment in time is because she got a judge to throw out the recall vote due to a procedural violation, and that is what secured her position. So she's already been voted out. There's already been somebody who has stepped up and beaten her in an election, and what she is trying to ensure with this particular ordinance is that can never happen again. Disincentivize people from running from this position by lowering the salary if somebody else takes office.
I didn't receive any information, actually literally till I sat down for the meeting.
No, so you didn't know this was coming?
No.
Thornton Township trustee Chris Gonzalez says he didn't vote for the ordinance because he was handed the 7-page document at the start of a meeting and didn't even have a chance to read it.
Now look, I tell people all the time, you really need to hone in and focus on what is going on in your local governments, because the kind of things that they slip by because nobody's paying attention are absurd and ridiculous. This is a guy who is on the board. He is a trustee on the board of supervisors for Thornton Township, and he was not even aware that they were voting on this until a minute before the meeting started, when they handed him this 7-page ordinance in order to slip this through, and he didn't have a chance to read it. And this is unsurprising based on the way that these Tiffany A. Henyard ran meetings tend to function. I played this clip over and over again, and I will play it again for you guys so that you can see it.
You're the ones that's costing the village money.
Okay. I don't have that call.
All right.
Okay.
Don't drag out the meeting.
I made a motion.
It took 30 minutes of yelling just to agree on the order of the night's agenda. Some residents say they are fed up.
Again, if you were to see this on a sketch comedy show and they told you that this was a majority black small town and this is how they operated in their meetings, every single writer of that sketch would be fired because it's so asinine, so stereotypical, and so ridiculous. But unfortunately, that is the reality for Dolton. That is the reality for Thornton Township. These people are absurdly, insanely corrupt. When they have meetings, they're often chaotic, and all dissenters get punished by Tiffany A. Henyard because she's essentially bought off her small town police department by paying them exorbitant salaries in the form of overtime that doesn't even make any sense, and she continues to get away with it. These people are the definition of living high on the hog while they're serving a population that is largely broke. Again, the median income for households in these areas is about $25,000, and she's raking in nearly $300,000 through her two salaries, and then on top of that, she's using the taxpayer purse in order to spend on her lavish vacations to five-star hotels, great meals, and all that, and she laughs in your face when you bring up any of this information.
I do not handle anything as relates to with credit cards. As you heard me speak today in my board meeting about, I do not handle that.
Some of those charges are for you, though.
No, sir.
You didn't go to Las Vegas? What is that?
No comment.
You don't know if you were in Las Vegas?
Of course I do.
Were you?
It's not paid by them.
Did you fly first class to Las Vegas?
Any other questions?
And by the way, this should be surprising to no one, as Nate the Lawyer, again, another positive reference for Nate the Lawyer, proved out in a previous video that he did. Tiffany A. Henyard was a thief before she was in government. She just now is doing it on a professional level. She was actually arrested in the city of Chicago for breaking into cars, literally looting from her individual citizens, and now she's taken that philosophy from that criminal past into the office of the Dolton Mayor and into the Thornton Township office. This is what she's all about. She's a complete and utter scammer, and she hides behind the virtue of providing for her citizens in order to do so. I think one of the most telling, one of the most interesting, one of the most obvious clips that is a great example of this is her giving out water to residents of Dolton on a 105-degree day.
A couple weeks ago, we tried to question Henyard about her detail as she went door to door in Dolton giving out water on a 100-degree day, surrounded by police, firefighters, public works employees, and two videographers documenting for Dolton's Facebook page.
I want to tell the people I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. I hope they post what we actually do here in the village of Dolton and stop telling lies.
And the reason why I think this is so amazing is because she's giving them out cases of water that maybe cost between $5 and $7, but she's doing it with two camera crews paid for by the taxpayer, a full police escort that fills up two SUVs, all of them making crazy overtime, people from the fire department and all these other agencies. So she's spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on herself, securing her own support while she's giving residents crumbs, bottled water, off-brand bottled water, to say the least. Now look, if I was a voter in Thornton Township, if I was a voter in Dolton, I would vote this woman out, and honestly, I would use the fact that she's cutting the salary of the next position holder to be a reason in order to do that, because I would save some money on that, and considering Tiffany A. Henyard has looted the treasury throughout her entire time in office, I think they could use some savings. So I hope this backfires, but the thing is, this could legitimately work in deterring somebody from running against her, because if you have to go up against all of the money that she can steal from the taxpayers, raise that money in order to hold this particular office, and then when you get to that office, there's a 90% pay cut, you're making $25K a year, and let's say you have a family or whatever, it's actually not worth it for you to hold this particular office. On top of that, you'll only remove Tiffany A. Henyard from one of the two positions that she holds because her Dolton re-election is not up right now for election. So essentially, she's still going to be in office no matter what. This secures her double-dipping position, and it's absurd and insane in every possible way. And again, I will point out that normally when you have this level of corruption, when it's so obvious, when it's so blatant, you would expect the FBI to be investigating it. You would expect them to be looking into it. But apparently, somebody trespassing in the Capitol 4 years ago is more important than the everyday corruption that we see from Tiffany A. Henyard, who blatantly on television says that she shouldn't have to break down any of her spending, and the taxpayer should be forced to cover it.
I shouldn't have to sit up here and break all this down.
When trustees refused to pay a big block of bills this week, the mayor accused them of putting vital city services in jeopardy.
We need receipts to understand what's going on.
Now, as usual, I'm going to leave the question out to you guys out there in the audience. Obviously, you're probably not going to be in favor of Tiffany A. Henyard, but do you think this move will work? Do you think that this woman will end up in jail again? Because remember, she was already arrested for breaking into people's cars about 6 years ago. Or do you think that she's going to keep getting away with it because she has the shield of being the super mayor, the advocate for her citizens, and apparently Democrats can never be arrested for corruption, even at the local level? I don't believe that's the case, but I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you like this video, then show me by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about Tiffany A. Henyard trying to rig an election in public. Till next time.